Hi everyone, it's Nandi. Welcome back to the channel Vibrant Authentic Living. So I want to talk today about celibacy, right? Now, I've always considered myself a kind of a mystic, a very ancient being. I always laugh and tell people I'm 6,000 years old. I laugh, but deep inside I'm serious. I'm an old spirit, an old soul. I've been here many times before, and I consider myself a mystic. And ever since I was young, much younger, because most of these things that are part of my lifestyle, I just intuitively went into them, right? Stop eating meat, 13, 14, I just declared it, and it was very intuitive. The fasting, as a late teenager, I just started fasting. The visualization, the meditation, all of these things. So I think I was born already with these decisions already made. I honestly feel that way, that I came in this dispensation already having decided that this was the path. Now, celibacy was one of them, one of the things I always wanted to do. Always wanted to go a number of years being celibate. And again, that was very instinctive, very intuitive. I couldn't explain why, except to say that I felt that it would ground me more, it would make me more in tune with myself. That's all I could say. Because my partner at the time, when I said to him, I think I was about 24, 25, at the time I had 2 small children by that time. And I said to my partner, I want us to go on a period of abstinence for maybe a year, 2 years or so. I think I said to him, 2 years. Let's just abstain from sex for 2 years. That man laughed at me so hard. So it's like he was saying, at the prime of your sexual years, you're in your 20s, you want to be celibate. It's not going to happen. Pretty much that's what he was saying. Over my dead body. That's what he was saying. And he had made up his mind that he would harass me if I tried, right? Jokingly, right? He was just saying, no, why would we do this at the prime of our sexual prowess? And so it didn't happen. It wasn't gonna happen, guys. It wasn't gonna happen. So we went on, right? We continued. But then, so I was with my spouse for about 18 years. And, eventually we decided to part. Very amicably, very, no fuss, right? Just for particular reasons, we decided to part. And it also happened, well, when we decided to part, I was on my own for a period, and then I got into another relationship with someone which lasted on and off for 2 years. And then I found myself alone, just completely alone, because I broke up with this person and I really felt that I needed some space to just be. Even in saying that, it's not like I wasn't open. I think if I had found someone else, I would have been in a relationship with that person. I just didn't find anybody else. And if anyone else came, there was just always something that turned me off about the person. And I'm very picky when it comes to my partner. I'm very, very picky when it comes to my partner. So one thing can break the deal. One thing can just turn me completely off. One, you can, I mean, there's a list. There's a long list, right? That you have to, I have to check off. So it just happened very naturally that I was celibate. Here I was, what this thing that I had longed for, this thing that I had always dreamed of doing as a mystic, you know, to conserve my sexual energies. Here it was happening. I didn't set out to say, well, I'm going to be celibate at this period for XXX. It just happened. It just flowed into itself. I wasn't with anyone, and no one was meeting my standards. So I was alone, and therefore celibate. And this went on, and I would be talking to guys, whether online or in real life, and it wasn't going to the point where we would become sexual, even though we were emotionally very attached, very deeply attached. It just was not getting to the point of intercourse. So this went on until one day I just look back and say, hey, it's been 5.5 years. 5.5 years celibate. And I remember, like I said, when I was in my 20s, I was wishing for 2 years, at least 1 year. I was saying 1 or 2 years I would love to just abstain and to see what that does for my spiritual awakening, see if it affects that in any sense, my intellectual awakening, all of that. I wanted to see what impact that would have, because I felt almost certain that it would. And so I started being celibate in 2014, and broke that last November. That was 2019. So 5.5 years. And you know, looking back, I can really say, I think it did affect my intellect and my spiritual awakening. I think it really did. You know, in retrospect, I'm able to see the difference. So for example, in terms of my writing, I wrote my first book as a youngster. So I'm not counting that one, but in terms of the adult publications, I wrote a book in 2000 and one in 2001. Right? 2000 and 2001, so that's 2 books. It took me 14 years to write another book. The same year that I started my celibacy, 2014, in that same year I wrote, I'd written I Love All My Wives maybe 2 years prior to that. I think 2 years, I'd written it, and then in 2014 I rewrote the whole thing. So in 2014, I think I published 4 or 5 books. After I started the celibacy, 4 or 5 books. Between 2014 and last year, I published 28 books. I wrote and published 28 books. So, let's look back. So I'm saying 2000, 2001, 2 books. There was a 14-year, 13-year gap. 13-year gap, right? 2001, 2014. 13-year gap. Nothing except the draft for I Love All My Wives. And when I ended that long-term relationship and then the 2-year relationship after that, that was when I was just profusely writing 28 books. And I feel like the solace, the solitude, contributed to me being so prolific. Not having and I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I love black men. I crave their spirit, I crave their energy. I love the connection between myself and a man, and I think that is very necessary. And I'm not one of those women who feel like I want to go through life as a strong, independent woman without my man. No. I definitely firmly believe that male and female are partners and we are companions to each other and we balance each other and need each other. But I think that there's something to be said from going solo, at least for a while, and this can happen on the male side as well. I'm not just saying because there was no man in my life. You as a man could benefit from redirecting your sexual energy into something else, some other creative form or intellectual form or spiritual form. So I'm not here saying, oh, because I didn't have a man as a cumbersome kind of thing or as a draining kind of thing. No, that's not what I'm saying. Anyone, male or female, who can go through a period of reinvesting, redirecting their sexual energy internally, whether in a mental way, intellectual way, physically, replenishing, revitalizing, spiritually. I think there is much benefit that can be gotten from that. And I think especially when you're coming out of a relationship, you should give that space. You should allow that space to just breathe, to just be, to recuperate, to reflect, to gain some perspective that the distance is going to give you. The distance and space will give you that perspective that you need to process what has happened, to process that relationship and see what you can make of it and what you can learn from it and what to avoid doing in future and what to make sure you do in future, that kind of thing. So I'm telling you, the period that I was alone, I was prolific. Let me tell you again, 28 books within a 6-year period. 2 books within a 14-year period. Right? That's what I'm comparing. So the record speaks for itself, guys. I've always been a loner. I'm an introvert. I function best on my own. But let me say again, male and female are equals, we are partners, we need each other. I'm just saying that we should at times just take, so especially if you're single. It's kind of different if you're married, you have children, you have a family raising. You can't take off into the wilderness by yourself. Although you can still come to an agreement and be celibate as a married couple, you know, if you are both mature enough and level-headed enough to do that. It's quite possible, and I would recommend that too, you know. But especially if you are single, and especially if you are just coming out of a relationship, I would strongly suggest that you take that time to heal and take that time to process and just take that sexual energy and redirect it inside. I think you will greatly benefit from doing that. I certainly did. I'm living proof of that, and I'm recommending that to you. It's an option. Don't feel like you have to have sex. You have to get your groove on. You can get your groove on later. You need to get your solace on, get your spirit clear, get your mind clear, right? There's enough sex to go around. You'll get enough. You'll get enough when you come back into the game. I'm living proof.